Welcome to Lexopedia. Picture a tranquil evening. Close friends gather for a meal, laughter fills the air and the aroma of delicious food wafts through the room. Now imagine this, the sound of gunshots. One friend lies dead, and the room is filled with chaos and disbelief. The others are forever changed, their lives marked by this tragic event. This is the story of South Korean President Park Chung-hee's assassination, a moment that would alter the course of history. It is a tale of power, betrayal, and a nation's fate hanging in the balance, a story of political intrigue and personal vendettas. On October 26, 1979, what began as a typical dinner party became the setting for a political earthquake, an event that would leave an indelible mark on the nation. This event would shock the world and reshape South Korea's destiny, sending ripples through the international community. Park Chung-hee, the country's leader for 18 years, would be dead by the end of the evening, leaving a power vacuum and a nation in turmoil. The man who pulled the trigger was not an enemy agent or a foreign assassin, but someone from within his inner circle. It was Kim Jae-gyu, Park's longtime friend and the head of the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, or KCIA, a man trusted with the nation's secrets. The dinner, meant to be a casual gathering, was filled with unspoken tension, simmering resentment, and ultimately, a shocking act of violence that no one could have predicted. Join us as we delve into the events of that fateful night and explore the complex legacy of Park Chung-hee, a man both admired and feared, revered and reviled, whose impact on South Korea is still felt today. To grasp the assassination, we must first understand the man, Park Chung-hee, a figure who left an indelible mark on South Korea's history. Born into poverty in 1917, Park ascended through the military ranks, seizing power in a 1961 coup. His military background shaped his authoritarian governance style. He became president in 1963, ruling South Korea with an iron fist for the next 16 years. His tenure was marked by both rapid development and severe repression. Park was a man of contradictions, embodying both the hopes and fears of his nation. He was a staunch anti-communist who rebuilt South Korea from the ashes of the Korean War, transforming it into a burgeoning industrial power. Under his rule, the nation underwent rapid industrialization and economic growth, a period known as the Miracle on the Han River. This era saw South Korea emerge as a significant player on the global stage. However, Park's economic progress came at a cost, with human rights often taking a backseat to development. He was a ruthless dictator who tolerated no dissent, using fear and intimidation to maintain control. He amended the constitution to solidify his grip on power, crushing any opposition with brutal efficiency. His regime was marked by a relentless pursuit of absolute authority. His regime imprisoned and tortured dissidents, silenced journalists, and restricted basic freedoms, creating an atmosphere of fear and oppression. By the late 1970s, South Korea was a nation of economic prosperity and political repression, a paradox that defined Park's rule. The seeds of discontent were sown, and the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, as the people grew increasingly restless under his oppressive regime. As South Korea thrived economically, the nation underwent rapid industrialization and urbanization, transforming it into a bustling hub of activity. Yet political tensions simmered beneath the surface, creating an undercurrent of unrest that was hard to ignore. Park's iron grip on power tightened, and dissent was met with swift and brutal repression. His regime was marked by a lack of political freedom and harsh crackdowns on opposition. Labor unions, students, and intellectuals began to raise their voices against the regime's authoritarianism, demanding more rights and freedoms. In 1979, a series of protests erupted across the country, reflecting the growing discontent among the populace. The most significant of these was the Busan Mason uprising in October, where the frustration of the people reached a boiling point. Workers and students clashed violently with police, leading to widespread chaos and numerous injuries. The protests shook the foundations of Park's regime, exposing the simmering discontent that threatened to boil over. Park, however, remained unyielding, refusing to acknowledge the legitimacy of the protesters' grievances. He viewed the protests as a direct challenge to his authority and vowed to crush them with all his might, deploying the military to restore order. He ordered the KCIA, his intelligence agency, to crack down on the dissenters, further fueling the flames of unrest and deepening the divide within the country. Amid this volatile climate, Park convened a dinner party at a KCIA safe house on the evening of October 26, 1979, hoping to discuss the ongoing crisis. Among the guests were his trusted confidant Kim Jae-gyu and his chief of staff, Kim Gye-won, both key figures in his administration. Little did they know that this seemingly ordinary dinner would be their last, marking a pivotal moment in South Korean history. The dinner party on October 26th took place in a private room at a KCIA safe house in Seoul. The atmosphere was tense. Park, as usual, dominated the conversation, his mood sour. He had been drinking heavily and was in a foul mood. The conversation inevitably turned to the protests that had been shaking the country. Park, enraged by the dissent, launched into a tirade, criticizing his security chief, Jae-gyu, for not being harsh enough in his response. Kim Jae-gyu, who had always been uncomfortable with Park's authoritarian methods, tried to reason with him. He argued that using excessive force would only worsen the situation and could lead to wider unrest. Park, however, would have none of it. He dismissed Kim's concerns, accusing him of being soft and indecisive. The argument grew heated, with both men raising their voices. The other guests sat in stunned silence, witnessing the escalating tension between the two old friends. The argument between Park and Kim Jae-gyu grew heated, filling the room with palpable tension. Kim, typically composed, appeared visibly agitated, his face flushed. Park, driven by alcohol and rage, continued to berate Kim, accusing him of betrayal. Abruptly, Kim stood up, his hand moving towards his jacket. In an instant he drew a pistol. Before anyone could react, he aimed at Park and fired. A collective gasp filled the room as the gunshot echoed through the dining area. Park slumped over the table, blood staining his white shirt. Chaos erupted as the guests scrambled for cover, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. Kim, still holding the smoking gun, turned towards Jae-gyu, Park's security chief, and fired again. Cha fell to the floor, mortally wounded. The room fell silent, the only sound the heavy breathing of the stunned guests. The trial and the motive. The assassination of Park Chung-hee sent shockwaves through South Korea and the world. Kim Jae-gyu was immediately arrested, and his motives became the subject of intense speculation and debate. During his trial, Kim claimed that he had acted to protect the country from Park's increasingly erratic and authoritarian rule. He argued that Park's brutal crackdown on dissent would have plunged South Korea into chaos and bloodshed. The prosecution, however, painted a different picture. They argued that Kim was motivated by personal ambition and a desire to seize power for himself. They pointed to his close relationship with Park and his position as KCIA chief as evidence of a calculated plot. The court ultimately sided with the prosecution, finding Kim guilty of treason and sentencing him to death. He was hanged on May 24, 1980. However, doubts about his true motives and the events surrounding the assassination persist to this day. The assassination of Park Chung-hee plunged South Korea into a period of profound uncertainty and turmoil. The country mourned the loss of its longtime leader, while also grappling with the implications of his sudden and violent demise. In the immediate aftermath of the assassination, the military, led by General Chun Do-hwan, seized control of the government. Chun declared martial law, suppressed pro-democracy demonstrations, and consolidated his grip on power. The assassination also had a profound impact on South Korean society. It shattered the illusion of stability and order that Park had carefully cultivated during his rule. It also exposed the deep divisions within South Korean society, between those who supported Park's authoritarian rule and those who yearned for democracy. The assassination marked a turning point in South Korean history, setting in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to the country's transition to democracy. Park Chung-hee remains a deeply controversial figure in South Korean history. He is both revered and reviled, his legacy a complex tapestry of economic progress and political repression. There is no doubt that Park played a pivotal role in transforming South Korea from a war-torn nation into an economic powerhouse. His policies laid the foundation for the miracle on the Han River, propelling South Korea into the ranks of the world's leading economies. However, Park's economic achievements came at a high price. His authoritarian rule denied basic freedoms to millions of South Koreans. His regime imprisoned, tortured, and silenced those who dared to oppose him. The debate over Park's legacy continues to this day. Some view him as a visionary leader who saved South Korea from communism and poverty. Others see him as a ruthless dictator who sacrificed human rights on the altar of economic progress. Subscribe for more. The assassination of Park Chung-hee was a pivotal moment in South Korean history. It revealed the vulnerability of authoritarian rule and the strong desire for democracy within South Korean society. What do you think about Park Chung-hee's legacy? Was he a forward-thinking leader or a ruthless dictator? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing historical stories. Thank you for watching.